Welcome back to the movement, everybody. It's always a pleasure to have you. Today we're lucky. We got two very special guests. One of my fellow kings, Amir, came all the way down from Toronto. God bless your soul.
Thank you.
If I have to drive more than 30 minutes, I need a visa. And I got my brother here, Moses. Very good to have you guys on.
Thank you, sir.
How's that drive?
The drive is, I was just saying to Moses before we started filming here, for whatever reason, I've done numerous trips to New York. That trip seems shorter than the drive to Ottawa, and I can't explain why. Ottawa just seems like I'm driving for days.
How's the pizza in New York?
I mean, anything you eat in New York City, man, I love New York. Like, you can go into New York and on a budget, on a shoestring budget, and have an amazing time, or go in and spend endlessly and have just as good a time.
Yeah,
So this is like a trip advisor.
Listen, I'm lucky. When I was about 24 years old, I moved to California, and one of my best friends moved to New York City. So we kind of split up to tackle East and West Coast, and go run with the Bulls and have some fun. He never came back. He's married, 2 kids. Was a total New Yorker. So every time we'd go visit him, we didn't do the touristy stuff. Like, all right, first time in, you go see Times Square, you go see some of the cool stuff. But every time after that, he just knew the city so well. So you got the perks of, New York City. Like, you got to see all the hot spots, the stuff that, people coming in as a tourist would have no clue.
There's a lot of underground restaurants.
That's what I was about to say. You
would walk down an alley, and there would be like a piece of plywood, and then you open that plywood, and it takes you into some like high-end steakhouse. It's like the stuff they come up with is
it's always those
hilarious.
holes in the walls, especially when you go to Toronto. I remember one time I went to Toronto, and I was craving Indian food.
Yeah.
And then I was with some guys, and anyways, they start taking me in this sketchy-looking place, and I said, "Listen, guys, if I'm being sent for, you're gonna have a problem, So they're like, "Don't worry, this place is fantastic." Okay, so we go behind this building. And I'm thinking the worst at this point. You know what I mean? You hear about Toronto stereotypes. I got my guards up. I'm almost like Leonidas from 300, ready to rock. And then next thing you know, we get there. You walk down the stairs. I'm telling you, man, it was sketchy. And I come from the hood too, right? So I'm used to like this environment. But I'm like, where's the restaurant? You know? Open the door. Place is run down. I'm telling you though, the food would beat Gordon Ramsay, and I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like incredible. So I like those holes in the spots.
And that's New York City in a nutshell. And everyone's always trying to come up with some kooky, cool way to separate themselves from everybody else. So it's little tidbits like that. It's the word of mouth that kind of filters through New Yorkers. And
what about halal guys? You always hear about them. I've never tried it.
New York, amazing lineups for days. Yeah, of course. You see lineups till like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Waiting to eat that.
Wow, that good?
Yeah, man. And they got this special white sauce. We don't want to, I don't know what they put in there. But
white guys, you got to send us the recipe, man. Otherwise, you're going to get sent for in Toronto,
I think they might be coming to Canada. I heard that they might be coming to Canada.
They're coming to Toronto only. They're never going to come to Ottawa. Ottawa doesn't like us anymore. You guys got all the good stuff in Toronto.
We do. Toronto is, you've heard, New York Minute. Then I've heard Toronto is 15 seconds of a New York minute. It's much less than that, but Toronto, you can't, whether you like the city or you don't like the city. There's Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal. There's always that rivalry. But Toronto's restaurant scene is pretty awesome.
That's way better than here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally descendant of Croatia. My parents are Croatian.
We're just talking about that. You said Lebanese people and Croatians are very similar.
They're very similar. So my fiance is Lebanese.
There you go.
So it was an easy fit, like an old glove that just put right on. A lot of similarities between families. Family's big.
Very good.
Everything is a celebration. The food you eat, the time you spend together. It's very, very similar.
Size of families too? Is it very large?
My family's not so big. I mean, everyone's in Europe. So all my cousins are all scattered out in Europe, aunts, uncles. I don't know my father's side of the family. There's a whole other conversation in that area. But
for sure,
my mom's side of the family live in a beautiful city called Rijeka, which is right on the Adriatic. It is, everyone hears about Split, Dubrovnik, Hvar, down south, and that's the big touristy trend area. But Rijeka is just as beautiful without the hubbub, without the chaos, without
Do they have nice bodies of water? Because I know Croatia just robbed all the water from everybody.
Adriatic is stunning, man. Like you stick your head in the water, you can just see forever. Like it's just absolutely beautiful. So
you're a seafood kind of guy, huh?
I love seafood. Absolutely.
That answers that question.
Fresh seafood, nothing beats it. I mean, seafood and a good steak.
One day I'll be on your level, man. I can't do seafood at all.
No?
I don't know what it is. The texture, the smell.
The smell doesn't.
And we're Mediterraneans. We should be like it. My whole family loves seafood.
You should. To find a Mediterranean that doesn't like seafood is a rarity, buddy.
I'm telling you.
But I get it. You know, my girl, she doesn't like seafood, and it's the smell for her.
See, now we can be very good friends.
Yeah, she can't stand it. So, but for me, seafood, I could eat seafood all day, every day. I love it.
So that's where your mom's side's from.
My mom's side's from Rijeka. Yeah.
And your father?
My father's from a small place called Pechigrad, which is in Bosnia, and it's really nothing. It's just flat land.
That's it.
Broken down farms. Like there's not a whole lot to it. My father was very, very poor growing up in his village. It was predominantly Italian, so my dad's fluent in Italian.
There you go.
His, brothers and sisters he grew up with, they were all pretty feral. Like it was all survival for them. So you can imagine, a communist country back in those days, 40s and 50s, were not easy to navigate around. So old man pretty much grew up on the streets, same with his siblings. So they weren't even really close either. They all just scattered like the wind and tried to make their way through life. My dad was fortunate enough to get on a boat and get over to Canada. Migrated to Quebec, which for him, I guess, was, tough. Obviously, you're leaving.
Did you come with him?
No, I was born here. Okay. I was born here in Toronto. He came here, got married. I got two older half brothers. My dad's marriage lasted a year, and then went back to Crow. Met my mom, brought her over, and popped out me and my sister.
There you go.
Yeah.
So 4 of you guys.
4 of us. Yeah.
You're still in touch with the half brothers?
Yeah. So the oldest one, Frank, we're very tight with.
I love him.
Yeah. Frank lived with us until he was about 13 years old, and then he left. My, dad was an abusive man. It was a rough childhood.
Really?
So my brother one day just up and left and
couldn't take it anymore.
He was 13. I was 6. Or 7, and didn't see him for about 8 years. He just vanished.
For 8 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was tough, man. I looked up to my brother, man.
That's tough.
It was very hard.
What about the other brother, the other half brother?
Kevin lived with his mom and was kind of like a pokeroo, popped in and out. So he never really established the relationship with him. Every year we see him like on holidays and birthdays, and it's cool, man. It's just that kind of relationship. It's not awkward. It's, hey, high five, hug, same. He's got a wonderful wife, 2 amazing children. He adopted her family. She's Greek, huge family.
There you go.
Huge
My
family.
big fat Greek wedding right there.
Yeah, and yeah, pretty much. And for him, he didn't have stability in his life either. So when he met Sula and started dating, it was her family, tons of stability, tons of love, tons of support. So there was just always that distance because he was just with her and doing their thing. But
was that just a trigger from what was going on in the house?
That's what it was, 100%. Right. So
were your parents still together at that time, or even till now?
No, my parents separated when I was 17.
Okay.
Over Thanksgiving dinner. We're sitting down, me and my sister, and mom puts the turkey on the table and says, "I want a divorce."
Like a Russian mob boss.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm out. And then my sister and I look at each other and go, do we keep eating?
Unbelievable.
A little bit awkward. Old man pushes the chair back and leaves the room and, just kind of walks away.
He's a great talker, right? Because normally, he gets you laughing even in the worst of moments.
Yeah, right?
Well, jeez.
Back in those days, like many guys I grew up with, they all had the same kind of dad, pardon the language, but he was an asshole, just a brutal man, and
it sucks.
Very harsh. And as kids growing up, it was normal. It's all you knew. I didn't know any different. I'd go to other Croats' homes, and their dads were. The only difference was my dad was not a drinker. The other dads were. They get lit, and then they'd just go postal.
That's nuts.
Hitting and beating and throwing shit at you. And I remember walking through the door with one of my buddies, and his dad was making Turkish coffee over the stove and grabbed the whole thing off the stove as hot as it was and whipped it.
Wow.
And just put a hole through the wall between us. And you're just sitting there going,
that's nuts.
but that was normal.
I would have been more pissed off with the cleanup.
Well, the mom was, she wasn't even phased that he nearly nailed us. It was the mess she had to clean up. That's what pissed her off. That was a weird thing about all our moms. They were just Nazis when it came to cleanliness, man. The footprints on the tiles. If my mom opened the front door and the sun hit the tiles and saw footprints, run.
Did you guys have to do the indoor slippers too?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep. Slippers or socks, no barefoot, and it was
unbelievable.
Run. When my mom saw footprints,
unbelievable. Run. That's great. Croatians are like us.
Oh
man.
yeah.
I'm telling you, my mom is a Nazi when it comes to that.
There you go. So a lot of similarities between
and they're always just mopped. That's always the line. I just mopped.
That's it.
I didn't see no mop.
No.
You know what I mean?
my mom did like every weekend. It was like spring cleaning. Well, what Westerners were called spring cleaning, or you give it a good once a year. Cool. That was every Saturday.
Literally.
Mom, Croatian music blasting through the house. And look, marriage was shit for her. Like my dad was a prick, and my mom worked night shift, and so life wasn't all that happy for her. Cleaning was her happy place.
There you go.
Her music, she'd be mopping away like she had the world in the palm of her hand.
Yeah, they get in a mode.
She had control of that.
That's what it was. Yeah. That was her world. Yeah.
Where was she working?
A company called Rubbermaid. It was a factory that Rubbermaid, plastic bins, ice cube trays, all that stuff. She worked 11:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the morning for 7 years, man.
Grinder.
She was. So we'd get tucked into bed, and mom went off to night shift. By the time we were getting up, getting ready for school, there she was, getting breakfast, putting lunches together, getting all that stuff done, and off you went.
That's insane.
That's a typical immigrant story, man. Like I don't know anyone I grew up with that had it any different.
Oh, why do you? My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, most of the people I grew up, all the moms are like that. They all.
Yeah. My parents were kind of like that as well. They kind of hustled and grind like in the beginning a lot. Yeah. They would do night shifts at like the Ottawa University. My mom would do cleaning, and then eventually my dad took up like working as a taxi driver. He was a professor in university in Lebanon before coming here. Yeah. But the degree didn't count. So when they came, they were hustling like crazy. Yeah. And then she stayed at home. He found something more stable for the both of them. And then she's still working like 24/7, like cooking for my dad, cooking for my brother randomly. Like she's always.
What's crazy about that too?
They don't make them the same way.
It's fun. Oh my God, that's such a true statement.
Yeah. I don't know what they taught
because I was saying my wife is staying at my parents now because my mom is taking care of her because she just gave birth, right?
Yeah.
And my mother, like, we feel bad for my mom, and this is like a breeze for her. This is like a cakewalk. What are you talking about? I raised 4 of you, 13 grandkids. You think he's gonna make a dent on me? I'll put you all on my back. She's like 4'6". Yeah. You know what I mean?
And she ain't lying, man.
She could put me on my ass. But the crazy part about the degrees is even some of my both my brother-in-laws, they come from Lebanon. Yeah. They were born and raised there. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, because my sister I was 14 or 13 when she got married, my oldest sister, or my second oldest. When we were in high school doing math, and he's like, "What are you talking about? We did this in like grade 6 or whatever."
Yeah,
they're just implementing this now. Yes. Everything that we were doing, even the sciences, obviously English is not for them. Yeah, they were learning Arabic, which I find is a much harder language. Yep. But the crazy part is their education was a lot better than here. But it's funny because it's not internationally recognized, and it's a regiment for them. Yeah. They don't play games. They don't fuck around. The teachers still beat them. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's true. My dad used to say it all the time. When we would bring homework from school, he'd look at it and go, "This is grade 4." Yeah. like, Dad, you dropped out in grade 3. What do you mean? What do you know?
Yeah, we had it pretty easy here.
It is. The education here system versus what you get in Europe and other parts of the world, it's a joke.
How did you know? Well, let me ask you this. I'm very curious about, because obviously you seem like you've had a lot of traumatic experiences through your childhood. Yep. How did that build into the character you are today? How did it contribute? Because a lot of people, they either take the negative. So if it was a very abusive home, turns out they're extremely abusive, or they're the complete opposite.
A long path. You know, there's no short answer to that one. I mean, I was a destructive teenager, you know, drugs, alcohol, partied often, and hard drugs, you know. An
No
angry.
one's judging you, by the way.
No, no, no. Hey, listen, man, I've made peace with my past
That's
and
the
all the
best.
things that I've done, and there's no shame on my end. I wear that as a badge of honor because it's made me who I am today, and I'm very proud of the man I am today.
Very good.
It took time to turn into something that I could be proud of. I always knew on a gut level the things my father did was wrong. You know, my mom, I don't have the memory of it, but you know, my mom said I was like 3 years old or something where my dad was hitting her, and I climbed up on a chair and screamed, "Leave my mom alone, you fucking asshole." You know, so at a young age there was this need to protect mom, you know, but of course you're a little shit, right?
100%.
But you just knew on an instinctive level something's wrong with this. Like it's not right. And my dad tried, like he would put the shit in your head, you know, what women are and the man's role in the house. And he would have this line, you know, this is no joke, but this, you know, he would say, some famous person or well-known person said this, I don't know the name. Son, when you wake up in the morning, you slap her. If you don't know, she knows.
No fucking way.
You know, shit like that, right? It's just
Jeez.
not all there. But what I used to think was, you know, as angry as I was at him, I also would have this conflict going on inside me. Like my dad was poor, he struggled, like he had nothing. I don't know what it's like to go hungry. I don't know what it means to be cold and on the street. I don't have a clue, you know. But this was his life. I mean, he tried to escape a communist country, was thrown in jail. He was in a camp, a refugee camp. I mean, that's hell on earth, man. And you know, you guys, you know, history runs deep with this kind of stuff. So Westerners don't get this. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
So a lot of these men were broken early and developed, you know, almost kind of like schizophrenic characteristics, like they were Jekyll and Hydes. You ask my father today about this shit, he'd be like, "What are you talking about? I never hit you.
Really?
Yeah.
I barely yelled at you." And you're like, how do you
I got a
argue with
broken
that?
eye
You're not-
socket.
Yeah. No,
Fuck it.
bleeding lips. Like we're not talking like belts and spanks on the bum. Like that was an easy day.
Yeah.
You know, like you'd walk by, he'd just grab you by the hair, lift you up and throw you.
For no reason.
For no reason.
No
Like he was
fucking
just
way.
pissed. He had a bad day.
Wow.
The worst one was, you know, we joked the sideburns. He would just grab you and lift you up from
Yeah,
here. And
no.
it's just, oh man, it was absolutely horrible.
Did you have a beard at that time?
No.
I was gonna, like, fuck that. Yeah, I'd be clean shaven like the mob, bro. I'd look
Yeah.
like John Gotti.
Shaved head, everything's picked, you know.
I'd look like Sammy the Bull Gravano at this point, you know?
But you know, I just always knew in my gut, like this is just wrong. You know, I've got a mom I love, and my mom was tough too, man. Like, but for some reason, I can't explain it. She got leeway because she didn't have anybody. Like all her family was in Europe. She had nobody. So she was 17 when my dad brought her over. He was 34 years old. My mom was
Wow.
leaving Europe thinking, oh, I just met my dad's charming as fuck. You know, like that's him. My dad's charming. He ballroom dances. He can speak multiple languages, and hook, line, and sinker. You know, my mom fell for it, and let's go to Canada. I'm gonna give you the best life in Canada. The funny thing was my grandfather didn't buy it. My grandfather saw through it all and told him, I better get my daughter back the way I'm giving her to you. He knew. He just knew.
That fucking sucks, huh?
It did, man. And it was rough for mom. Man, she had it bad. Like even pregnant with us, he was beating her. And
No way.
oh yeah. My sister was born with complications. And so, but this was normal life. This is what we were used to. This is what we saw. This was every household I grew up in. But yeah, you know, he tried to, you know, get you to see that this is what it is for a man. This is a woman. This is a man. But it just never sat right. And, you know,
Good, it didn't sit right.
no, it didn't. Like nothing about it. Like I got into a lot of fights, but I wasn't a violent kid. Like, you know, it wasn't like I would go out and just want to hurt people. That was not in me. I would get into fights. Like you take a beating at home and you go to school the next day. And as a kid, you don't know how to properly deal with the emotions.
Yeah.
You know, none of it makes sense to you. So what happens? You go to school, I play a soccer game. A play would happen and you get into an argument and boom, fists are just flying. You know, I'd fight anybody. I didn't care. Small, big, none of it mattered to me. I
I'll take
honestly
it
didn't
all
give
any
a shit.
size. You don't discriminate.
Nah, not at all. Like I'll fight anybody. That's the way it was. And a lot of it was just anger. And then, yeah, as the teen years went on, got to a stage where I was about 20 years old and I realized like, this can't be life. You know, I'd applied to take a job as a janitor at a Good Life Fitness. My mom called me. She says, you know, I need to talk to you. I said, what's up? She goes, your sister's been crying all day. I said, over what? You know, you applied to be a janitor, like wipe sweat off machines for people. I said, what the fuck? It's a job.
Yeah.
You know? And so, you know, she's like, well, your sister's just been crying nonstop. Like, this can't be it. This can't be him. This can't be his life. And that's when it really kind of dawned on me. I got to make some changes here. There's no life here in what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I don't want to be him. And just something in me, there was like this voice inside me that said, you're just meant for something bigger. There's something bigger. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I had no idea where to go, what to do. And at this point, you have no self-esteem. I hid all of that behind the drugs and the partying and the good times and the fights and all that shit. But I was a broken kid, man. You know, if my father wasn't beating me, it was, you're a loser, you're a bum, you're dumb, there's no life for you, all that type of shit, you know? But I did. I figured out, okay, what do we do here? So I went chapters, bought a book called Awaken the Giant Within, Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Only book I ever read from front to back at that age,
Wow.
like up to that point. Picked it up, didn't put it down until it was done. And that's where the spark started.
What did you take away from that book?
That basically anything you want to do out of life, whatever it takes, whatever you need exists within you. It's just going through the layers to find it, you know, the human spirit, which exists in us all. And the human spirit is the most powerful force that exists on this planet. It's the thing that, you know, when you break your neck and the doctors tell you you're never going to walk again, never going to be able to function again, but all of a sudden that person is running, jumping, and that's the human spirit. It's tapping into something that no one can explain or understand. And I committed to figuring that out or trying to find it. Still, I'm 44 years old, still working through it, but where I am today versus where I am at 20 years old, Jesus, man, night and day.
I'm still impressed that at 20 years old, you were able to find something that would resonate within you and be like, you know what, I found a catalyst that's going to make me change, because I was a wild card until like 28.
Yeah. No, the pain of the way I was living was intolerable. It got to a point where the pain of going a new path was less than the pain of where I was living. And that's typically where change happens for people. It's one pain becomes more than the other. So the life I was living and the things I was doing wasn't painful enough yet to get me to change. But one day it became more painful.
Was that, let me ask you this, I'm actually curious. Were you having suicidal thoughts at any point in time of this?
There was a period, I'd say maybe 19, 20, where I didn't necessarily think that I would do it. It was, if the drugs took me in my sleep, so be it. If I didn't wake up, if I don't wake up, I don't wake up. That's cool. It was so dark and lonely. You know, my parents split and I decided to stay with my dad because I figured if I left, there'd be no relationship. End of story, done. You know, and one of my friends at that age had lost his father and it was devastating for him. And he would say, like, dude, like, try to work it out with your dad. You know, I lost mine, try to work it out. And I figured, fuck, all right, you know, I'll try. And it was just awful. You know, he was just an awful, awful man, just a bitter, angry man. And when he'd come home every day, the beating stopped. Like, I was 14 years old when that stopped. All it took was me raising my fist to him when he came to raise his hand to give me a pop. I just stood up and went, fuck it, let's go.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I knew he would pummel me, man. My dad was a strong, strong man, like 40 years in construction. Come on. He would have just crushed me.
Fucking
like
sandpapers for fucking calluses. Fuck calluses. Sandpaper at this point.
No, he had these bear claws. He was a strong, strong man. But I figured, fuck it. I'll take a beating, but I'm not going down. And that was the last of it. in that moment, that's when I realized he's a coward. Okay, now I got you. It's women and children. Okay, I'm clear on it now.
Because that was going to be one of my questions. Outside of the house, how was he?
My father was a charmer.
Everybody loved him, eh?
Yeah, my dad was loved amongst all the other men. But he was a textbook narcissist, a liar. Like, just the stories he would tell. The women all knew, like my mom's friends. The dads were just, everyone loved him. He would mow neighbors' lawns. He was the guy that came to help you fix your car if you were by yourself on your driveway.
Fuck, those are the guys you got to watch out for. Huh?
That was him, man.
Jeez.
That was my old man. Look, he wouldn't take $1 from you if you left your wallet. He would never touch it. You'd find your wallet with every dollar intact. That was him, you know? But there was this ugly side to him.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, actually, the last time we spoke,
Yeah.
is why did you choose to stay with your dad and not your mom?
There's 2 reasons. The second reason didn't become clear to me till later in life. But the first reason was I wanted to establish a relationship with him. I figured if I leave, it's done, it's over, and I'll never see him again. And I wasn't sure if I could ever forgive myself for it. The second reason I discovered later was I was afraid to have nothing. My dad made money. My mom did not. And that haunted me for the longest time after, when I realized that I took a cowardly move. I stayed with my father for financial comfort, whereas my mom struggled. My sister, had to work multiple jobs to help my mom and stuff like that. But I figured like I wanted to somehow salvage a relationship with him. And it wasn't the greatest. It got to a point where we were able to talk and tell jokes and laugh. And then it became, you're 20, 21 years old, like you're out with girls, and now it's, hey, son, what are you up to kind of thing,
Fuck, I'll never know that feeling. Eh?
Yeah, well,
my dad would have a shotgun right to my face. You don't play with other people's daughter.
Well, my old man, the big, thing was when I was 14, his advice was, have sex with as many as you can. Don't let them know where you live. Don't get them pregnant. And do you want a movie? No, Dad, I'm good. I'm okay. That was him. Like, he was a Neanderthal, like an absolute Neanderthal.
Jeez.
Even having a daughter, that was the thing that blew my mind. I got a 6-year-old daughter myself right now, and to think
that's nuts. Be honest. What would you do? Your dad would shoot you if
my dad's the type of very calm, collected. He lets me do whatever I want, but of course, like, as soon as we start making mistakes and it's obvious, he would get involved. He'd get really involved. My mom's the type of, come here, I'm gonna beat you up.
Love it.
And I can handle her pain, but like thankfully it wasn't my dad. But my mom was the one.
I would have had a shotgun in my face. It would have been like, open your mouth. You're taking both shells. Go fuck yourself.
Look, I got a 6-year-old little girl, man, and
that's crazy.
I'm prepared. Let me just tell you.
I'm sure your mindset changes once you have a daughter.
It's very different.
For sure.
How is it like being a girl dad? Since I don't have a girl, I only have 2 boys.
My daughter was born. 2 things happened: unconditional love and love at first sight hit me like a ton of bricks. When you grow up like I did, it was very hard to go through life with an open heart. I never really fully let anybody in. Girlfriends will tell you I was always at arm's length. They could never get through. I never got dumped, like it was always me that turned the page. Hey, it's been a slice, but time to move on kind of thing,
Fuck, I'm gonna ask you for breakup plans at this point.
Well, look, for much of these girls, I was the project, the broken guy, the guy with the, it was a big project for a lot of these girls. That was the draw, and the bad boy,
None of them won it.
So
everybody failed.
Everybody failed, man. And
them.
There's a couple
Tony
guy
Robbins.
friends that are like my heart and soul that were there through a lot. Like my best friend, Mark. I've known him since I was 17 years old. I love him like a brother. And then there's my brother-in-law who came later in life. But I didn't let people in. And it's not that I didn't want to. It's not like I consciously said no. It just wouldn't happen. When my daughter was born, it happened instantly. No effort, no nothing. Like the moment I saw this kid, that was it. I was mush.
She softened
crying,
you right
bawling, like just madly in love with this little girl. And it was through her that I didn't discover till later that I learned how to open up more to people in life, you know, be a little more vulnerable, be a little more open to, you know, deeper connections with people. But it happened through her. She was the catalyst to changing that for me. You know,
It's an incredible feeling, huh?
there's no way to describe it. You know, when my ex at the time said, "Hey, you're pregnant," I was elated. I was so happy. And then, of course, like every man, you start going, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to make sure that she's okay. I got to make sure the wife's okay. You just start doing what men do, right? But it's the before she was born, I kept trying to imagine, what's this going to feel like? What's this going to feel like? I just couldn't. And like most guys, you don't connect to a baby when the woman's pregnant. You just don't. Most guys don't.
I didn't.
You don't. I've rarely ever met a guy that lays there with the wife at night holding the belly going, oh, like we're just one right now.
Oh, those
no.
those soap opera dramas. Every time my wife watches and I find like those lovey-dovey scenes, I start laughing because like, it's such bullshit.
It's bullshit. It's not
I
fucking real.
I wish I can fucking find one man.
No.
But you know what?
Show me him.
Scientifically, they know that when you actually grow a lot of more estrogen when your wife is pregnant.
Yeah.
So you can become more lovey-dovey and more nurturing. Because I think naturally you need to be less barbaric and like more testosterone, and you go down to more estrogen levels, like female
It makes
levels.
sense.
It does.
But
because there's something called the transfer of power, where if you're with a female, obviously you have to become a little bit more softer. And she has to get a little bit more tougher because obviously men are built completely different.
Yeah.
And you can't be a brute with a flower, you know?
No,
Right.
no.
Because let's be honest, if I come complaining every other day, you're going to be like, man,
Yeah.
why don't you just shut the fuck up and go do something about it, you know?
Yeah.
right.
You go to tell that to a female, oh my God, get therapy.
Well, then
Fuck.
we need to talk. Like,
Yeah. That's why I'm like, that
And
was soap
usually when
operas.
they say we need to talk, it means I'm going to talk. You got to listen. Right?
Yeah.
That's typically.
So
what
you
it
were
is.
thinking the logical path. I got to make sure everything
Yeah.
is ready for the family. I got to make, stability.
Yeah, there's stuff you got to do, and sitting with.
How old were you at that time, though?
I was a late bloomer, so I was Kaya's now 6 years old and 44, so I was 38, I guess. Yeah. So all my siblings had have kids already, and buddies had already had their kids that were 8 years old, kind of thing. So going out to the lads, going, hey boys, I don't feel anything. I'm not feeling any connection. I'm starting to get nervous. Like, is this me again, being just so closed off and devoid of anything deeper? And the boys were all great, man. They were all funny. Each guy, like each one of my buddies, is a clown, in their own way.
100%.
And they're all alpha male guys, like not Neanderthal guys. They're strong male types,
I'm not telling you, don't make sure they don't have your address. And
Yeah,
One of those guys.
So I call my brother-in-law and said, Rob, I'm not feeling anything. And he goes, oh mate, I didn't even like my kids till they turned 1. My sister's like, well, that's true.
Good. That's so good.
And the rest of the boys are the same. They're like, it wasn't until they were born, buddy. And I'm like, well, what does that feel like? Well, that I can't tell you. That you're going to discover when you have your own. And each one of them are great dads. So these core guys I'm close with all grew up fucked up. They all have their shit. Right. And they're all amazing fathers, like just so devoted to their kids. And it's amazing to see what, everybody went through. But today they're mush when it comes to their children.
That's great, man. Because I'm telling you, a lot of guys I know, it's the pure opposite.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They come from because I came from, like I was saying, a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys have gone through a lot of the same things. I was pretty lucky. I won't lie to you. I got an incredible family dynamic at home. But a lot of them became extremely abusive, multiple baby moms, not even divorcees, So it's incredible that they were able to do that.
Something inside me, I've referred to it as kind of like God's whispers, like there was some voice inside me that had me, no, man, let's go this way. Don't do it. And through the, whatever you want to call it, there were many moments I could have got myself into some serious trouble where I could have been seriously hurt, arrested, all kinds of stuff, but for whatever reason it never happened.
So you're not a religious guy, you're just a spiritual kind of guy.
I'm heavily spiritual.
Okay.
At this stage in life, I'm going to be honest, I find myself relating to Christ a whole lot. All right, Like my family background is Muslim, but we're not practicing. All right. Religion was not big in our home. You know, my dad would take us to the mosque here and there, but it was just not a thing. You would go to the mosque. For me personally, it was difficult that my mom would be sent to a separate room with my sister, and I didn't understand, like, what's this all about? I didn't like the idea that my mom was beneath my father, considering who my father was.
Yeah, I guess that must have played a big role for that too.
It certainly did. So I never bought into it. But when I, you know, not spiritual or much as a teenager, just, you know, like every other teenager with some added extra layers of bullshit. But yeah, getting to 19, 20, there was just this voice that was just like, listen, man, there's something better. There's something better. Just come with me. Come with me. And I did. And I just started to peel away layers of becoming something different and better. And I sat and started to look at, okay, what is it that's deterring me from chasing more in life? Well, I'm a defeated young man. I have no self-esteem. I don't believe in myself. Being around people I don't know gives me heavy anxiety, all that stuff, right? And so I started to throw myself in things to challenge it all, to start facing it all head on. So one of the first things I did, I went back to school, you know, finished, it was like a 2-year program. I did in a year, got myself.
What did you take?
Web design and e-commerce, right? So this was before Google. Websites were only starting to kind of build. And
so you were a pioneer.
I was always, honestly, if we have time for it, several businesses ahead of my time.
I have all the time in the world. For it. So one was a Neanderthal, then you became the pioneer.
Pretty much. And my dad was afraid of his own shadow when it came to taking risks in life. And I didn't want to live like that. I couldn't stand, you know, we had a few family friends that were minted, like millionaires, but they were the same as my father at one point, very poor. And all of them had opportunity to buy land. And his buddies did, and my dad didn't. He held his pennies.
Fuck, he missed the golden goose.
He missed the golden goose, and they did it, and they turned into developers like Ashley Oak, huge developer in Mississauga. And guys like that just fucking rich. Yeah. All right. And
when is it, like the 70s, 80s?
It was about the 70s when they were buying up the land.
You hear these stories with these big developers. A lot of them is very similar. Their fathers bought fucking bundles of lands. You know what I mean?
Land for nothing. It was nothing. Cheap as fucking chips.
I wonder if we'll think the same way now in the next 30, 40 years. Be like, I wish.
That's a good point.
You know, like, does it ever stop? Or is it always a good time? You know?
Yeah,
that's a very good question, man.
You know, looking at my life, I've been a riverboat gambler my entire adult life. I've rolled the dice on everything. I have not taken a normal path to where I am. Everything has been off a beaten path. So one thing my daughter will never be able to look back and say, like, my dad didn't take risk. Well, that's all I ever did was take risk.
Your whole life is a risk at this point.
That's all it was. And so, you know, finished school, got a good job in the evenings, worked with my sister to build a web design business. That started to flourish, left my day job, did this during the day. And then I realized, you know, I'm 22, 23 years old, working stupid hours. I was competing back in soccer to get off the drugs and the alcohol. I got myself back into competing, put myself into martial arts. So I was like a really good functioning person, like starting to really take in life from a whole different level. And then it just hit me. Nah, I'm not ready to be this serious. So
really
pulled my sister into a sit down and said, how do you feel about me just leaving? And she goes, well, what do you mean leaving? I go, I'm just going to leave. Like, I'm going to go to California and I'm going to go be a beach bum. And I'm going to just try to figure out life outside of here, something different.
I love that. That's cool.
And she goes,
life on Venice Beach.
Oh, buddy, my sister has always been an amazing support in my life. And at no point did she think about herself or what was going on. She just looked at me. She goes, go do it. Go do what you got to do. You know, I love you, support you, whatever you need to chase, go chase it. And I did. You know, my buddy, good buddy, Mark, he was working for his dad at the time. And Mark lived in Oakville, you know, rich kid. I was not a rich kid. People could never understand the dynamic. Like, Amir, you grew up fucked up and, you know, parents struggle. He grew up rich. Like, how are you guys so tight? I'm like, well, pain is pain, man. Doesn't matter that he had money. Mark had his own pain. His father was never around. Mother became an alcoholic, and he was, scraping his mother off the floor, taking her to bed while dad was out doing his thing.
That's a struggle in itself.
It's a struggle in itself. It was
Yeah.
hard for him, man. And so what did Mark do? He was an Irish kid, Irish French, two nutters put together,
Yeah,
right? So
two bad tempers.
two bad tempers. So
what
what would he do? Mark would just get into fights. That was his thing. Just go smash whiskey and get into a fight. So we related in many, many different ways, and through each other found a lot of comfort in our friendship, And so anyways, he was working for his dad.
You guys are Jack Daniel kind of guys, eh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bottomless fucking pits, Jack Daniels. Right? Oh yeah. So
as soon as you started saying that, I'm like, JD is just everywhere.
For sure. Oh, I could still taste it. And I told him, I said, I'm Mark, I'm out of here, man. Fuck it. I got to break free from here. I got to go. I got to see what else is out there. And he goes, oh, I'm in.
Wow.
I go, what do you mean?
No
He
way.
goes, "Oh, I'm in. I'm like, dude, you're working for your dad. You're making a mint. He's like early 20s and 6 figures. Wow. And he's like, I don't give a shit. I don't want to do this.
That's like, guy.
So that's what we did. We packed the car. We had no plan, no place, just money we'd saved. That was it. Hopped in his Honda Accord.
Yeah.
Drove to see his buddy in Florida who was in dental school at the time in Fort Lauderdale. Stayed there for 2 weeks. And then we drove across the South, stopping in every city along the way, having the time of our lives, got into California, lived in Hermosa Beach for about 6 months, man. That's all I did was surf, boogie board.
How was that?
Oh, it's amazing.
Tons of fun?
It was liberating, not a care in the world.
You must have struggled at first because it's not easy to surf there. I know for a fact.
So I'll tell you.
You tried it?
Yeah. I
Did
surfed
you?
around a lot of places in the world.
Fuck, you guys are nuts. You guys are swimmers, man. I'm more of a land and air kind of guy. Leave me away from the sea.
What I learned was getting up on the board wasn't the toughest part. It was paddling out to the waves. That's the hard part.
Oh, this is a conversation you guys are well versed in.
Yeah, that was the hardest part. Yeah. And I remember first trying to learn, like, the water's choppy, the break, right? So light a whitewash, and you're trying to take this floating device to paddle out past the whitewash that's just pummeling on top of you, right?
Because the waves don't stop. They keep coming.
They just keep coming. And, I'd wonder, like, I'd heard stories about people, like, pretty much drowning in, like, 5 feet of water. And I think, how the fuck do you drown in 5 feet of water? It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I get it. You paddle yourself to exhaustion. And then all of a sudden, you just, like, the will to live disappears and they sink.
That's crazy.
So I was struggling. And some dude, like, really cool guy on the beach, came over. He goes, hey, man, I've been watching you struggle for a little bit. He goes, grab a boogie board. Learn on the boogie board first. Get the mechanics. A boogie board is like half the size of a surfboard.
It's like size of your chest.
Yeah, you ride it with your chest. You don't stand on it. Okay. You catch a wave basically with it on your chest.
Okay.
And he goes, try that first. Mechanics are somewhat similar. You'll get comfortable with it. Then switch back to a surfboard. And that did it for me.
You guys are nuts, man.
Well, it was a good time, man.
I only went tubing once. I had diarrhea for a week. I think fucking my colons got cleansed. That's holy fuck. The second time they told me to come fishing, I gave them 2 middle fingers. Later. And I said, I like the ground. Come on by. I'm like, fuck that. Jaws comes, bro. Fuck you. Leave me alone, bro.
It was a wild experience. I was having the time of my life, and my mom. I was coming back from the beach in the morning, and I was going to come back, shower up, and then I would spend the day like hiking, walking, rollerblading, just constant activity.
Just living out your life,
Just living out my life, man. Like every night we were smashing, Jack Daniels and Coronas. Like, no, we the whole day we were at the beach.
Watch
and
out,
at night,
using that Corona word nowadays.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Full other conversation. So the buckets of Coronas would be like $6 for a bucket of 6, and the shots were like $2. So when you're living on like
how freaking cheap it is.
The US, drown yourself. Don't worry, it's cheap as chips.
Hit the board.
So we would drop like $50 and be absolutely wankered. Leaving like nuts. Howling at the moon, going back to our place. It was all these little tiki bars, loads of fun, packed with honeys. Like, just the vibe was just unbelievable.
Were you ever wearing those freaking floral like aloha kind of vibes?
No. The bar we hung out at had a lot of that. It was like
Okay.
Sharky's was the name of the place. And
Sharkies.
I've been back a few times to go see the place again
Nice.
because just a lot of wild nights, man. But it was such a cool vibe, this place. Hermosa, they don't care about celebrities. So you would see a lot of celebrities there.
Right.
Quentin Tarantino was a few feet away from me, like going at it with some chick, like violently going at it. Like
Jeez.
they were like trying to choke
He's
each other
he's
with their tongues. It
producing
was
it.
wild. Yeah.
Fucking Quentin
So you'd see a lot
Tarantino.
of these people and nobody cared. But if you were a pro surfer, pro beach volleyball player, they would chase you around everywhere.
Really?
It was different. So yeah, we did that. And, you know, I'm on my way home from the beach one morning, finished surfing, and mom calls and, you know, the old flip phone, flip. Hey, mom, when are you coming home? Ma, I went
You
for
have to do the accent.
you got to do the
eh?
accent.
Fuck.
I'm like, Ma, this morning I went for an hour run, watching the sunrise. I just finished surfing for the last 2 hours. I'm gonna go home, take a shower, and then I'm gonna spend the rest of the day on the beach. Ma, I'm not coming home. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going back to the
coming
concrete
back.
jungle. You
Yeah,
know?
I'm not coming back. So 6 months there, and now you're 6 months. You're out of money. You know, they'll come find you like 6 months in one day to get out. Okay, and when you've got all the bills under your name, there's no hiding. So I looked at Mark and I said, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "I think I'm going home. I'm out of money." I go, "Well, I'm going to Vancouver." He goes, "Well, you have no money." I go, "Fuck, I'll figure it out. I don't know. No big deal." You know?
Just a fucking nomad. Eh?
Just a nomad. I loved it. That was
Beautiful.
me. So I called, we hopped in the car, we drove up the Pacific Coast Highway and did that drive all the way into BC. And along the way, again, no plan, called my brother. "Hey, Frank, do we know anyone in BC?" He goes, "Oh yeah, man, Aaron lives in Vancouver." So I know Aaron, great guy. Called him up. He's like, "Yo, go, Aaron, what are you doing?" He's like, "On the couch." Go, "I'm on my way to Vancouver. Need a place to crash." He goes, "Oh, fuck, homie, I need a roommate."
No way. It worked out great.
It worked
huh?
out perfectly.
I need a
So
coach.
lived there for over a year. And again, just time of my life. And
How was the vibe there comparing to Toronto? I mean, I'm like a stop sign. I haven't left Ottawa really.
Vancouver is like very cliquey, like yogi snooty.
I don't like
You
that.
know, like rich yogis that
Yeah.
are like, they talk about Zen, but don't talk to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Yeah, no, I
It's
can't do
just-
that. It's-
That's the vibe.
That's
It's
a
very
crazy vibe.
cliquey. It was hard to mix and mingle with strangers.
Was
right?
that the time when real estate was already at insane pricing, or is this well
No,
before
no.
that?
Like rent was pretty cheap there. I mean, Vancouver was expensive, but look, I was mid-20s. I wasn't buying anything, so I couldn't tell you the cost of a condo or a house out that way. I worked in a bar, and then I worked in the film industry. So I was auditioning, did commercials.
You're a fucking jack of all trades.
Oh yeah, dude. When I
Holy
tell you,
fuck.
like I've seen.
Were you a
some shit.
drywaller too at some point?
No.
Frick.
So you know, in California, met a couple that were in the music or the film industry. He was a model, she was an actress, and they in the industry were well known. Like people knew who they
Okay.
were.
Was she going out on the beach with Quentin Tarantino?
No.
She's not that famous.
No. Matt, her husband, was half Jamaican, half Thai, and just fucking
That's a
chiseled,
mix.
like just fucking dreamy looking guy.
Wow.
You know, a good look. And he was very Christian. Okay, church regularly, didn't swear, didn't drink, and which is strange to be in the industry he was in. You know.
Yeah.
But Matt was like such a humble man that he had no idea. Like women were like drooling.
Wow.
I was the ugly guy next to him. You know, I like to think I'm a decent looking guy, but they would look at you like you were a troll, and at him it was like drool.
Fuck, this is like the
dripping.
story of Joseph. Eh?
Yeah, but he would have no idea. Like
Ah.
he'd never in his mind ever like, wow, chicks are checking me. Not him. He was a family man, loved his wife, loved his children. He's
Nice.
a beautiful man. Joanna was the firecracker, Filipina, you know, swore like a drunken sailor. You know, they were just like a perfect couple. But when I told her I was going to Vancouver, she goes, "You should get in the business." And I'm like, "I don't want to. I don't even get in the business." She's like, "No, man." She's like, "You're a good looking guy. Like, we'll get some headshots. I'll do it." Because she was a model. She knew how to work the camera. She's like, "I've worked with like some of the top photographers." So she took my headshots. I got into Vancouver, started stuffing envelopes, sent it out to like 13 agencies, and like 7 got back to me.
No,
Nice.
risk
And I went
taker,
and
eh?
interviewed. They made me audition in the interviews, and like half of them were like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Cool.
How was the auditions, by the way? Is it kind of like what you see in the movies?
Fucking awkward.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so awkward. You walk into a room, there's like a handful of people behind a camera, and you get up in front of it, and it's like, okay, go. And it's just,
that's it.
It's just weird.
So
So,
I'd be like a professional shit talker. I'll tell you that.
buddy, like for me,
You can pull
it
from it.
wasn't as nerve wracking because I didn't care. Like I didn't want a life in the business. I wasn't looking to be a
Yeah,
famous
fuck it. You
actor.
just came back from boogie boarding and shit
Buddy,
like
that's
that.
what it
you
was.
know?
I'll tell you, I landed my first big gig. It was on a Armed Forces commercial, Canadian Armed Forces commercial.
Okay.
And I left the bar at 6 a.m, hammered. The audition was at 9. All right. I went home, showered, tried to get a little life in me, went to the audition. I thought it was a bust. The manager that worked the bar, she was texting going, how was that? I'm like, I don't know.
How bad was it? Be
A
honest.
couple of days later, I get a call. He was like, buddy, you booked it. I go,
You're a Final Fantasy fan?
You knew that song?
Holy smokes.
I
man.
love Final Fantasy.
That's
Amazing.
incredible. I mean, I'll catch anything, bro. I'm like a fucking hound, bro. You know?
holy shit.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
his agent calls me, goes, buddy, you booked it. I go, get the fuck out of here. He's like, you booked it. Called the manager at the bar. I know. I'm like, you won't believe this. I booked that gig. She's like, come on. I'm like, yeah. So all expenses paid. They flew me out to Vancouver Island.
Nice.
3 days there. Did the bit, dog and pony, show and all that
How
stuff.
was that though? You doing?
It was
Were
fun.
you suited up and full out gear and everything?
all of it. It was loads of fun.
How heavy was that?
It was good. Yeah, it was good, man. It
Well,
was,
I guess all the boogie boarding and shit. I just started going back to the gym. I would have
Yeah.
been gassed out.
I was always, I was a fit guy, man. Like I was training
You
heavy.
still look incredible.
Oh
man.
yeah, I work out. I do all the right things. But again, this was all part of a transformation over the last year. But when I stopped at 20, I got back into training like soccer and Muay Thai. I've been doing Muay Thai for like 20 years now, and
Amazing.
so I was very fit through my 20s and very, very fit. But yeah, it was loads of fun, man. It was a cool experience. I spent 5 days on a film set with Al Pacino.
Get the
Yeah.
fuck out.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
play
amazing.
games. Eh?
No, true
You know
story.
that movie Irishman?
Yeah.
That gold ring they give Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get that made right now.
Are you?
No,
I'm a huge fucking fan. As soon as that movie came out, I went nuts.
It was
Oh,
wild.
wow.
So the movie is called 88 Minutes. I booked that one as well. And so we were at the University of British Columbia. You were in an auditorium and he was a professor. That was the thing. And they were trying to catch a killer. And anyways, super cool guy. Had some weird quirks. But when they talk about presence, right? Like they have presence, like star factor, presence. Never knew what the fuck that meant, but whatever. When he walked into the room, you just felt the air in the room change.
Wow.
Presence.
Right away,
It
you
was- you
need
just
people
knew.
like me.
Wow.
eh?
I didn't even know, I didn't see him walk in. I was talking to someone, something just felt different in the air. And then you turn around, you're like,
Scarface is
Wow.
Al Pacino, holy shit.
it. That's insane.
He doesn't look you in the eye when he talks to you.
No.
It's this
Really?
weird thing where he's talking to you and he's like this. So I asked
That's odd.
someone on the set, like, what is this all about? He's like, yeah, some of them have this thing where they don't look at you because it gives you the idea that they want to talk to you. So if the celebrity makes eye contact with you, these starstruck people, oh yes, he wants to talk to me.
Interesting.
So they don't look at you. That's
That
why they
makes
just don't
sense.
make
I
eye
didn't know
contact.
that.
Like, leave me alone. Go away.
Mm.
That's their kind of thing. But he was a super nice guy. That voice, that raspy yell, when he yelled in the room, it was like, just grabbed you.
Fuck,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
some Tony Montana vibe.
Yeah.
you know?
So it was a wild time out there, man. Again, just really growing as a person.
Did you already know who he was at that point?
Oh, yeah.
You were a Scarface fan
Oh,
too?
yeah. Huge Al Pacino fan.
You always tell
Robert
the truth,
De
you don't you
Niro.
lie, you know?
Oh, I love these guys, man. They were great.
I'm a huge fan.
My generation kind of, grew up watching these guys. But yeah, the whole experience of California and BC brought me out of a shell, gave me confidence. I was outgoing. I was bubbly. When I came back, family was like, who the fuck is this guy, man? Like, just completely different person.
180.
And then from there, just started to really have this insatiable appetite for life. I wanted to experience everything. I
Was
wanted-
that because it started off in California?
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's where it all developed and changed. There was this whole other side to life that happened going on the other side of fear, where the anxiety was, where the insecurities were, the self-doubt, all of that stuff. I got on the other side of that. I got to see a whole new lens of
It's
life.
amazing.
And it was
So you'd
wild.
recommend people obviously to travel and go explore.
Oh man,
Go
when you're
explore.
stuck in life, like any time over the years where someone's like, I'm just stuck, I don't know where to go, what to do, I'm this, I'm that, fucking go travel, man. Go see the
Yeah.
world, go meet people, go talk to people, as many as you can. Learn
Interesting.
from as many as you can. I never had a mentor. I wanted one so bad. You know, you often hear stories of people, rich people, successful people, athletes, all say they had this one person in their life that was the guy that did it.
I think like you, man.
I never had it though. You
Me
know,
neither.
I tried. I tried many times. I got hurt many times, betrayed many times by latching on to someone that I believed in. And, you know, my ex-wife will tell you during our marriage, she would see it. She'd see the heartbreak and the devastation and all of it. And then I realized, like, later on in life, like, I'm my own fucking mentor, man. I willed my way through all this shit. I grew through it. I chased it all. I chased all the opportunities on my own. You know, nobody guided me through it. All the heartaches, the failures, the trials, tribulations.
So it's
All
almost like
along.
that thing, you know, people have people, but you're the person that people have.
Yeah.
You know
So
what I mean?
now
You're
I've
that
become
guy.
a mentor to others. I help others. I help guide others, which I absolutely love. I think it's important to do. I think, listen, no one ever does it alone. There was people in my life, like my mom and my sister later in life, my sister especially, that were emotional support. So I won't tell you I did it all by myself. I didn't. Along the way, you had little things here and there that clicked. But I believe that if you get somewhere in life, you've got an obligation and a duty to turn around and help others that are struggling to find their way through life.
I agree with you.
And if you can do that, you make the world a better place each time you do it. Each time you help light a spark in somebody else. All I've wanted was to live a life that inspired others. That's it. I don't know what that means, what it looks like. To everybody, it's different. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be able to tell a story that lit a fire under somebody else. And, you know, hopefully people that have grown up the way I did, that suffered the way I did, that think thoughts like, you know, I'll never amount to shit. Who am I? What do I have to offer anybody? Well, I had those thoughts too. And at this stage, I got a shit ton to offer people, you know?
If you ask me, man, I think that's pretty courageous for a lot of guys. Let's be very honest. You know, the one thing we don't kiss and tell, we just shut off. You know,
Yeah.
we hide all our sins.
Yep.
Yeah.
We don't bring anything to light. Like you're flat out. Like as an example, you spoke about your father. A lot of us wouldn't have been able to do that. Whether you know we're saying the truth or we're telling a lie. A lot of us couldn't just be like, you know, this is what happened.
It's
So good
I
on
want
you.
to change the narrative, you know, that strong men don't talk. Yeah, we do. You know, have you ever heard of a show called Rescue Me? You know, firefighters, they're all fucking drunks, pill poppers, and all that
Bunch
shit.
of JD lovers, eh?
You know, right? But the thing is, this is what's considered tough. Is you don't talk about your problem, you don't talk about your fears. But there's a lot of men out there that struggle with alcohol, struggle with drugs. They're you know, they abuse their spouses, their children, because I'm too fucking tough to talk about my pain.
Yeah.
That shit comes out.
Yeah.
There's no suppressing it. One way, shape, or form, that shit's gonna come out. So it's up to you to control how it comes out. And so for me, my outlet a lot was sports and working out and fitness. And I thought I was doing the healing by all of this stuff I was out chasing, you know, running with the bulls, skydiving, bungee jumping, you know, Muay Thai competing, getting in the ring.
He's Jason Bourne.
Yeah, this guy's Jason Bourne, right?
This is Mission Impossible. Unbelievable.
It was pure adventure I lived for. And I thought this was healing. I thought that's what it was. Like, I'm out there, I'm fixing myself. Man, I'm happy. I'm living life. I realized later when I slipped back into regression that I didn't go deep enough. It was all the pain was still.
When
in
did
there.
you realize that you slipped back into regression? Like, when did that happen?
Mid-30s.
Where were you in life at that point when that happened to you?
I took a job with a restoration company. They were an award-winning restoration company, been around 22 years, and took a GM role. Got in there, you know, was at this point like a really good sales guy. I was very good with people. I'm not technical with construction, never have been, but I got by on just how I can communicate with people. Got into this company and I bought into the owner and his lifestyle. And he was like the Great Gatsby, you know, lots of parties, a good time. And I fell into it. And, but it stopped being a good time. It started to be coping mechanisms for the stress and the anger because he betrayed me. He was, you know, I was basically being used. He was a textbook narcissist. And
When did you pick up on those vibes?
It took me the first year. It was the first year. Now, this is going to sound fucking crazy because I was with him for 8 years, but it was blind loyalty. I just kept following and following, but I was spiraling in stress, anxiety, resentment, anger. I was drinking, I was snorting, I was, 2-3 days a week, up all night. Most people had no idea. All right, no idea. Yeah. I go to the office 10 hours. No one had a clue I'd not slept the night before. No one had a fucking idea. Taking clients out at night, nobody knew. Yeah, you're drinking with them, that's the industry, but nobody knew about the rest of it. And I'd realized during that period, like I didn't do the work I thought I did. Like, how am I here? How is this happening to me again? How am I living like I did at 19 years old? I was devastated. Like, I felt so lost. Now I have a baby. I've got a wife. And I just couldn't find a way out. And it just became a never-ending cycle of beating myself up. Just beating myself up. There was so much self-loathing, despair, and then issues. My body started falling apart. I one night had dinner. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and I had this very sharp pain in my stomach that felt like someone was sticking a sword through me. Jeez. And I was like, sitting at the table with my wife at the time. I'm like, something doesn't feel right. I don't feel good. She's like, okay, what's up? I go, I'm just gonna go to sleep. I thought maybe it was the meal. Tossed and turned all night. You're not going to sleep with that kind of pain. And sun's coming up. She looks at me. She's like, you haven't slept. I'm like, no. She goes, well, what are you going to do? I go, I got to go to work. I got a meeting. Got to go. I'm showering up, getting ready, get in the car. And in the car, I'm like, just kind of like squeezing the pain and getting to a fender bender, because I wasn't looking up. I was like, oh my
no
God.
way.
Rammed into it was very little damage. And she was cool with it. She's like, don't worry about it. It's like nothing. My bumper's already scraped up.
Oh, wow. She didn't try to take advantage of
Not at all. Huh? And I'm sitting there like, yeah, okay, great. Thanks. Got in the car. She's like, are you okay? Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm okay. Get to the office, bunch of hubbub, get to a site meeting. It's like 3 p.m. And it's pretty intense, man. Like, I'm pale at this point. And we're at this site meeting. The client and my boss, they look at me and go, dude, go home. What are you doing? Go home. I'm like, yeah, I think I should go home. Get in the car. And I reversed into the boss's car.
Oh, holy fuck.
Yeah. And they're looking, they're like, oh,
insurance
my God.
hated you that day.
Oh, man. So anyways, it was just a little fender bender. You're parked anyway, parallel. So I wasn't going that fast. Just tapped him. And he's just like, Jesus, go home, dude, go home. I get home. It's like 4 o'clock, laying on the couch. I'm going to try and take a nap to get rid of this thing that's been with me since, 8 o'clock the night before. My ex-wife's mom is a retired nurse. So wife comes in the room. She's like, call my mom. Call her.
Fuck, I should have asked that. It was right here. I was going to be like, I guarantee you there was a nurse in the family.
Yeah.
So, I swear, because you look like the kind of guy you have to be on the death's
much.
door. They'd be like, I'll go see a doctor.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's gonna go away. That's what it's gonna go. It's gonna go away. Yeah. So call her, and Anne's like, Amir, what's going on? And I said, well, Anne, this is what I'm feeling. And she goes, oh my God, sweetheart, that's your pancreas. Go to the hospital. I'm like, whoa, okay. So go to the hospital. They immediately put me on morphine, and no one really made it all that serious. So I didn't fully understand what was happening. Hey, come in. You've got pancreatitis. I'm like, what does that even mean? Well, go home, don't eat fatty foods, and stay away from sodium for a couple of weeks, eat light food, fish, things like that. It's like, I don't know, it must have been about 5 a.m. I'm still in the hospital, and some Eastern European doctor with an open coat, ratty old sweater, corduroy pants, typical Eastern European guy comes in, scruffy hair, scruff, looks at me, goes, stop drinking.
He knew.
He fucking
He's
knew.
like, fuck,
he knew.
I see
like,
you guys all day. I'm smelling you.
He knows. And I go, I don't drink that much. He goes, stop drinking. That was the only time I saw him. He turned around, left, never saw him again.
Wow.
Your accent's top notch.
Yeah. So I get picked up at about 8 a.m. and, go home. A couple weeks go by. I'm like, everything's back to normal. So what do? I
Pick
go
up the
back
JD.
back to the old shit, right?
Mm.
Fast forward 2019. My ex-wife, at the time, she kept telling me, she's like, you can't will your way through life. It's gonna get you. Like you've got to figure this shit out. And I'm like, I'll be fine. Fuck it. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That was always my thing. Don't worry about it.
That's a
Don't worry
man's
about it.
answer.
Yeah.
I'll
Don't worry
figure
about
it
it. I got to figure it
Yeah.
out. Well, it's a Saturday. It's about 6 o'clock. We're sitting on the couch getting ready to watch a movie, and there's that familiar pain. I could feel it creeping. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, something's wrong again. It's back. She sees me pacing the kitchen. She's like, what's going on? I said, something's wrong. She's like, again? Like,
She knew.
It's been 2 years. What do you mean again? Right? And now it's
Turn on
back.
my Siri.
And my little one's sleeping. So Kaya's in bed. Now I'm like, Diana, I gotta go to the hospital. I gotta go. Something. She's like, okay, I go, no, we're not gonna wait the kid. I will drive myself. She's like, you are not driving yourself.
Oh, yeah, fucking tell her I'm Jason Bourne here.
Yeah.
I can get
Yeah.
shot in the
Fuck
face.
it.
And
I
stuff.
will
do
drive
anything.
myself. Don't worry about it. Just take care of the kid. Don't wake her. I get in the car. I'm dry heaving. The pain's so bad. I'm going through red lights at this point. Fuck it.
gotta do
If
what
a
you
cop
gotta do.
comes, he'll get me there faster. So get to the hospital, park. I walk in. As soon as I walk in, I'm like, blah, just barfed. The pain was so fucking bad.
That's nuts. It made you puke from pain.
The
Wow.
pain was just god awful. And I'm on a table, like just in the fetal position. They've got a garbage next to me, and I'm dry heaving. The pain was so bad. I'm waiting now. Doctor's doing his rounds, and they give me some pill to take to help with the pain. Nothing. I'm like, fucking kill me, just kill me. Doctor comes in finally. It was like 45 minutes. And he looks at me, he goes, anybody give you anything? I go, they gave me this pill. And he goes, fuck. And he calls out, get the morphine in here. Like, a nurse comes in. He's like, what are you doing? Like, and he starts like lecturing her. And she's like, well, we were waiting for you. He's like, get the guy a morphine, man. So all of a sudden I'm like, there it is. So that night they run me in to do some scans and some tests and emergency surgery. My appendix was rupturing. It was seeping. All right.
It was already seeping.
It was seeping.
You're
It was
lucky, man.
completely gangrene.
Fuck, you're
My
lucky.
whole appendix was gangrene.
Wow.
They rushed me into surgery. I get out, obviously loopy and just a mess. And usually, appendix being taken out is like standard stuff. Like you're in for 24 hours, they let you go.
It's like a fucking root canal,
Pretty much. But for me, it was more serious. So they didn't tell my wife how bad it was. They were being a little loose around it because they themselves didn't fully know what they were looking at. But she knew. Like she knew something's wrong. Like, what is wrong with my husband? What's happening? Well, we're going to keep him for 48 hours. She's like, no, you don't do that unless something's serious. And they were just being really loosey-goosey with it, right? She comes in. I'm, sitting on the bed. She brings in my daughter and puts my daughter onto the bed. And the kid crawls up to me and she's laying with me. And so she looks at me. She goes, so what now? I'm like, I know. She's like, what are you going to do? Because you can't keep living like this. I said, I'm done. It's all done. Like life, I'm leaving the company. I'm going to go my own route. Just let me get through this. She's like, okay. So 48 hours, I'm running fevers, like bad shivers.
For sure.
Fucking bad. Like I can't control my body. It's so bad.
For sure.
They're throwing blankets on me, like layers of it. Like I got 20 pounds of blankets on top of me, fresh out of a dryer. And I'm just like so bad. And they're giving me Tylenol to bring the fever down. And then of course, Tylenol wears off. Now, every time I'm starting to feel the shakes, a nurse comes in with her, fucking questions. Are you feeling this? Are you feeling that? Are you feeling this? And it didn't click until finally 2 days in, the shivers were so bad. I just kept saying, something's fucking wrong. Something's wrong. Nurse is like, well, we'll just get the person to come in again. And she comes in with her clipboard, and it clicked. Her questions were, are you hallucinating? Is your skin itchy? Are you sweating? I'm like, I'm not a fucking alcoholic. Something's wrong. And she goes, okay. I'm like, something's fucking
I was
wrong.
even thinking like withdrawal symptoms. You know?
Yeah. No, man. So they come in, they take me for a test, lost a liter of blood. I was hemorrhaging inside.
No
Oh my
way.
God.
So the gangrene went up the artery, and they didn't fully clip it where they needed to. So I was just pissing blood inside. So I lost about a liter of blood.
Jeez.
They rushed me in for another surgery. And so it was 2 days, 2 surgeries, pretty brutal stuff, blood transfusion,
nuts,
all
man.
that type of stuff. So it was about 2 weeks so I was a week in hospital. They released me. I get home. I'm a mess, just weak, very weak. And less than 24 hours, my stomach starts to hurt really bad again. And I'm now in the sink, like throwing up. Luckily, my cousin was there, so she took care of the kid. I looked at my wife. I'm like, I can't drive myself. Like you got to take me. And she's like, oh my God. It was my.
She's distraught at this point. She's like, fuck his
Yeah,
she's
this guy's
all
falling
this stuff.
apart.
Well, she's a mix of scared, pissed at me, like a whole mix of things because essentially I did this to myself, right? And so she takes me to the hospital. My pancreas was like the way they described it was like the enzymes in your pancreas were so hyperactive that it cut the inside of my pancreas.
That's crazy.
And so they had said to her, we can't do another surgery. Like he won't make it. Like at this point.
Wow. So they're saying that this is life threatening.
It was life threatening. So they said the only thing we can do right now, get him on the morphine, put him on IV, no food, get that pancreas to quiet down. So I spent a week pretty much on IV. And
Were you a smoker at that time?
Only when I drank. Not that was my thing.
Fuck, I would have every 2 seconds on that IV. I'd have been like, please. They put me in the smoker section in the hospital,
No, it was only when I drank. I smoked. Outside of that, I didn't touch cigarettes. I could go on a vacation, smoke a pack a day, and I'd come home. I wouldn't touch them for months.
And you drink coffee?
I do. Yes, I like coffee.
Interesting.
Love my coffee. And so
because normally it's the coffee with the cigarettes. What?
Yeah, no. And so that was it. That was where another big step and change in life was like, okay, I got to fix my shit. Like there's something deeply wrong here. Started my own business, left the company.
What'd you start?
So I had a very big network in construction. All right. So it's easy for me to find work. I decided I didn't want to go start my own company, hire labor and all of that type of stuff.
So GC.
I'm not even that, man. All I do is broker deals now. I've got clients that are builders, architects, engineers, got deep relationships with them all. And as the work comes in, I just align the right trade for the job and I take a commission for it. That's it.
That's awesome.
And I love it. I'm doing a part that I love, which is the building and cultivating relationships, client management. A lot of my clients, we become friends. The trades I work with, we're all buddies. So it's pretty cool circle of people. So that was the transition, made my leap into that. Came with some hardships, obviously, starting a business and COVID hit, and the whole world went tits up, my first year in business, like, oh, fuck, what do you do? You don't have that guaranteed paycheck, right? So just hustled. That was
Construction was doing very well in COVID.
Well, not so I was in commercial restoration.
Oh.
So nobody wanted anybody on their buildings. People were now working from home. So when you're doing balcony jobs, nope. Because people are working from home. They can't have somebody chipping concrete outside their slider when they're trying to do a Teams meeting or a Zoom.
That's true,
So I had to scramble to find other taps in construction that I could turn on while this one was off. And I did. I branched out in a bunch of different areas. And now I do everything from restoration, new build construction, window replacement, drywall, roofing, like you name it, I got it. Right.
So how does that work? Do you have like regular residential clients and then basically...
Yeah.
Because you say you don't GC.
Yeah. No. So I'll have a guy that strictly does balconies and parking garages, like a client. And they'll call me up and I'm like, yeah, you're going to use this guy. And they end up building a relationship and they're working together. And I just keep getting my commission.
That's
every time.
amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Fuck,
good,
you
man.
cracked the code. I'm in construction, you know?
Well, I'll tell you, man, like at first people didn't get it. They're like, what do you mean broker? Like, why the fuck do I need a broker? You know, I'm like, it's the business is relationships. That's all it comes down to.
That's
And
a
you
fact.
build your relationships,
Yeah.
you'll have endless work. And that's what it was. I found the unbeaten path, something different than what everybody else was doing. Rolled the dice, took the risks.
Yeah.
It's a hard path to break through, but I did. Bust through a ceiling, and workflows is endless. It's all over. I got projects up in London, up in, all throughout the Kawarthas. Just I'm spread out all over the place.
Do you have to do site visits everywhere? Nothing, eh?
Fuck no.
You really cracked the code. What the fuck is going on?
I hated
I like
site
that.
visits. I
Oh,
hated project management.
Yeah.
Now I deal with the owners of companies who are fucking great guys, man. Like, just they get it. You know, we all worked for guys that were the older generations that raped and pillaged, that didn't understand sharing the wealth. It was mine, me.
Yeah.
And all these assholes are, 3 times divorced, no relationship with their kids. They're alcoholics.
Wasn't I just saying that to you earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they all are,
That's
man. And,
fucking nuts.
went to a house with a guy who's got an elevator in it, rich old contractor, just a miserable prick. And, you leave. My wife, I was like, I don't understand. Like, how is he so miserable? I'm like, it's how he made his money. He fucked people.
Everybody, yeah.
And now he's, in his 60s, he's alone. His kids want nothing to do with him. So all of us coming up through the ranks just didn't want to do it that way. Just wanted different. These guys, they don't, those guys built their era on hookers, blow, and envelopes under the table.
It's such a true fact.
That's them. My guys, everybody I deal with, they're all family men. They're home with their kids having dinners. Like, they put the time in. They're doing stuff with their kids. They're not fucking 10 times divorced. So we found a different path. And one of the things I look for in people I work with and deal with is that family dynamic. How are you with your kids?
Yeah.
So if you're good with your kids, it means you have a moral compass. If you're not, then you'll fuck me at any chance.
That's a
you get.
goddamn fact, man.
Yeah.
So
sure.
if you would do that to the people that you're supposed to love the most, then I don't want anything to do with you. So we've got a great nucleus of guys that they're just good people. I don't have contracts. Guys, like, I tee people up. I don't have contracts. I could get fucked at any point. They don't. I'll get a call. Hey, Amir, just landed a job with so-and-so. I got a call. I got this, dude. Here's your end. All right. Thanks, brother. We'll chat. Take care. Like,
That's it?
That's it, man. Everyone's just really good. Like, listen, there's more to it. There's
of course.
a lot of hand holding
Of
and
course.
taking care of the relationships. A big thing for me is what I love most is building and cultivating relationships, man. It's important to me. Everybody is trying to do the same thing. Put food on the table, a roof over your head, pay a mortgage in a world that is becoming more and more complicated to do it. So don't be the guy that fucks with that. Don't be that guy.
That's crazy because everybody's coming out of the woodworks now, especially in this industry, because it's so bad from real estate going to the shits.
Yep.
So a lot of guys I know, even I'm part of it, they don't want to pay.
They don't. That's guys are going 90 days and it's getting tough and tough out there, right? Yeah. So, but you got to find your good clients. Like, I have clients that pay. They're good people. And if they can't, if there's a reason, they at least tell you. No one leaves you twisting in the lurch. I have 2 responsibilities. One responsibility is to make sure that my client is getting value for his money. And the other responsibility is to make sure the contractor is getting value for his time. Somewhere in the middle is a happy medium, and I have to vet both. I don't just randomly stick any guy on a job because this person puts food on my table. So I got to be very careful who I align with people. I also have to understand personalities, who I know would work together, who wouldn't work together. So listen, does it mean that there's been no glitches, no hiccups, no hangups? Of course there's been. Of course there's been some shit show stuff. I don't promise anybody perfection. There's not a single client that will come in front of you and say, Amir told me there would never be a mistake. There'd never be an issue. It's fucking construction. Construction's bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. Like,
that happens all the time.
Full disclosure, I don't like construction.
Yeah.
I don't. It's fucking headaches. It's stress. It's worry. It's high dollars, high value, high, a lot to lose.
Some of them have some crazy expectations though.
They do. Some people, this whole race to the bottom. I want the lowest bid. I want the lowest bid. but they never have the lowest expectations.
I know.
The highest
Nuts.
expectations.
They got to cut a corner somewhere at that
They
point.
do. So one thing I always say, like, don't come to me if you're looking for bottom dollar. Like, my guys, they're not the cheapest, they're not the most expensive. They fall in the middle, but they're good, man. Like, they'll devote themselves to you. If they make a mistake, if something happens, they'll own it. They're accountable. They've all bought into the 20-year relationship. I want 20 years out of you. How do I get 20 years out of you? I don't fuck with you.
Yeah.
Just do right, be right, live right, act right. That's it.
That's it.
It's not complicated. The business is not complicated. People complicate it.
That's
All
such a
right?
great statement.
If you go into it with honorable intentions, you will navigate through it. You will find your way
I
through it.
fucking love this guy.
I
Because
love
that
him
was
too,
the theme
man.
of the podcast. It was be honorable.
That's it. Like, be
Amazing.
a character person. Again, I don't promise you perfection, but I promise you if something happens, I will be there. I will answer the call.
Yeah.
Even if you're calling me to rip me a new one, I'm going to answer the call. You're not going to hear about, well, because of this guy, because of that, and the wind was blowing. And no, okay, I got you. I'll take care of it. That's it. My people, when they call me, man, an engineer will call me. It's rare, but when they do, because something's gone wrong, hey, Amir, I need you to look after this. Yeah, I got you. No problem. I'll take care of it. That's it. And it's done. Consider it done. I'll call the guy. Hey, we got to look after this. Can you eat this? Can you eat that? Yeah, don't worry about it, buddy. I got it. I'll take care of it. At the end of the day, if we can make everybody who's working together in this dynamic look good to the client in the end, then guess what happens? The next job comes your way.
That's
and
right.
the next job.
You work in harmony, man.
100%.
A lot of people nowadays, I feel like what they're trying to practice is they're trying to always one up you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if you keep moving around shady, at some point it's gonna catch up to you.
This industry is big, but it is very small. Okay.
I agree.
And you have to look at it this way. When you're looking at construction, you're thinking as a whole construction. It's fucking huge. Okay. When you're dealing in dollars, there's certain players in every bracket of dollars that are a small group of players. So when you're dealing with restoration guys that do $15 million a year in business, there's only a small group of players that do $15 million a year in business. Okay. When you're dealing with a guy that does 50, 100, 200, it's a small group of guys. So it's not that big. So you got to be careful what you do and how you approach everything. It is not that big, man. Shit gets around fast.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I've developed a pretty cool thing, again, going back to taking the risks and, doing the unbeaten path. There's one thing somebody said to me a long time ago, who was probably one of the best salesmen I've come across. I don't know if you guys know Entourage, the show.
Yeah,
Of course.
He's
Great
fucking Ari Gold.
Ari Gold. He's like Ari. That's a character.
Who the fuck doesn't know Ari Gold?
So he's like an Ari Gold, except with more heart.
Okay.
All right. And the thing he taught me, there's like I was learning sales through him. He was in commercial audio. So he did, casinos and, hockey arenas, sound systems, all that type of stuff. So he was an independent that represented like the Tannoys, the Biamps of the world, like all these major manufacturers that supplied all this stuff. I went into a meeting with him once. It was a boardroom table. He does a presentation, brings in food. And the guy's like, Brian, really good stuff, buddy. I just, I don't, not right now. He's like, hey, no problem, man. High fives, handshakes, everybody. We leave the room. We go outside. He turns to me and goes, that's a no today. And then a few days later, he just had this knack for it. A few days later, he calls me. Hey, remember that no the other day? He goes, yeah, I just fucking closed that PO. He was really good at shit like this. He was very smart, very witty, very fast. But he said something to me that always stuck. And it's how I approach everything in life. He said, listen, man, the world is fucking saturated. All right. And it's only getting more and more saturated. There's 100 of the same thing in every direction. And everybody out there trying to chase that same nugget. What there's no two of is you. So
Facts.
sell you.
That's what it is.
You build everything based on you. And whatever you're selling, they will take. And that's it. That's my approach, man. Everybody I deal with, I put the time and the effort into the relationship because I give a shit. I'm not fake. I will never be fake. If I don't want to deal with you, I won't deal with you.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough now that I've gotten to a place where I don't have to. I don't have to chase people I don't want to be with. If your character doesn't align, I don't want to deal with you. And this industry has no shortage of assholes.
Yeah.
People
That's
that are
a
very
fact.
short-sighted, that'll crush you just to get $1. And this is where it becomes more complicated, because every time you fuck someone, you now have to find a new person to fuck, and a new person, and a new person, and a new person. You're gonna fucking run out of runway, buddy.
Yeah,
That's why you have
up.
guys that have companies that have changed names like 10 fucking times.
Yeah.
Why? Because you keep fucking people, man.
Yeah.
That's a red flag for me.
Yeah.
Multiple times you change.
It's crazy how, you know what? Either at some point, I know some of these guys actually. I just got taken by a dude that was actually a friend from 2007,
Wow.
and he just robbed me for $100,000. You know.
Wow.
The crazy part is,
Oh, yeah.
is after when you start hearing the stories.
Yep.
Because you wouldn't think that, you know what, you wouldn't do that to me. I got a pass. So, you know, in the end of the day, I would have been like, there's no way you would try to do that with me if you already knew what I was. So the crazy part is he still did it anyways. And then I find out, wow, he took it from this guy. He took it from this guy. He took it from this guy.
Yep.
And then I'm having a conversation with one of them. He's like, oh, he screwed my brother-in-law for 160.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't know there's money on this guy's head, eh?
Yeah.
I'm like, where did he run off to? He's like, nobody knows.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wow. At some point, it's not even you just run out of rope. There's people now really out there after your life.
Yeah.
You know, people, some of them were so distraught. They went to alcohol.
Yeah.
They lost their lives. They lost their families because they're like, I don't even know how to pick myself back up anymore.
That's the thing that
It's
just,
crazy.
I'll never understand. I'm a father. I have a kid. I put food on the table for my child. Like, I could never, ever imagine a scenario where I would do this to another father who has to come home to his family and say, we have to sell the house.
That's nuts.
I have no money. I have to close the business. Whatever. I can't.
What baffles me though, for a lot of these guys, is how you can shake someone's hand, look them dead in the eye with a smile, and be like, "I'm gonna fuck you later on." You just have no clue I'm doing it.
You just don't know what's coming.
A lot of them just don't even see. That's the thing about antagonists. Most of them think they're protagonists, and they have something in their head that can justify what they're doing.
That's what it is.
And they pretend like they're the victim.
Yep.
It's like a psychological thing that they have. It's an issue.
It's a disgusting
narcissistic character.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's what it is.
They don't. Not all of them necessarily think they're gonna do it to you.
Right.
But more often than not, a lot of people, like, if you're drowning, will push your head under to keep theirs above. That is just a lot of people out there, and there's very rare group of people that will try to save you when they're sinking. You know.
I'm the kind of guy that would that saves them when they're sinking.
That is me.
Same.
Listen, you talk to my fiance, she'll tell you how many dollars I'm out of pocket over the last couple of years of helping people that didn't deserve the help, but I did it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm still going through that too. Like, I watch my dad, and my dad's gone through a lot of. He's the oldest brother of like a family of, I think, 13 people. Yeah. And every year, like actually today, my aunts came over and they're like, oh, we need you to help us with something. And, you know, when there's like, when the parents pass away and they have to give up what they have.
Inheritance, sorry.
Yeah. And they didn't get my dad involved in it. My dad had no idea. Yeah. And then eventually we found out it was all distributed without him knowing. And I have this thing in my head that I'm still trying to get through right now and understand, why is he not fight back? Why does he not say anything? Why is he not tell him like, hey, where's my share? Where's my thing? He told me like, that stuff is a gift and you can't ask for it. Yeah. It's given to you. And throughout his whole life, he's always been the guy that's always been taken advantage of. Yeah. And I get this resentment inside. It's like, I don't want anyone to do that to me, you know? But then eventually I noticed that my dad, we go home, everybody's at peace. We're all happy together. People on the outside do that to you just to teach you something. It's all a lesson, you know? Yeah. So all these guys that try to mess with us and destroy us, it's like either you become like them and you get miserable like them, or you just take it and you learn and keep that peace in the house. And
what do they say? It's a big thing. You get bitter or better.
Yeah.
Right? Bitter or better. It's one or the other. And the valuable lesson I learned in the last couple of years of people that really did a number on me, you know, financially, took a shit ton of money from me. I was helping some guy, I'm out, you know, over 30,000 helping him. And it was another guy I leased a truck to help him out. That was a fucking shit show.
It's nuts, eh?
You know, it's just, but the lesson was boundaries, dude. You can't run and help everybody. It's like running into a burning building with no fucking plan.
Yeah.
You got to have a plan. A firefighter doesn't run into a building without a fucking plan on how he's going to get out. Right. Yeah. So, lessons were learned. Like I've learned in this whole spiritual journey and shadow healing, whatever you want to call it, that the things that reoccur in your life are lessons you're not getting. And you have to break that cycle finally. And that's what happened for me was I was getting fucked by people because I kept extending myself and helping. And the lesson was stop, man. Like, I'm an empath, dude. I absorb a lot. All right. I want to help. The moment you tell me you're in trouble, everything inside me says, like, what can I do? What can I do, man? How can I help take that pain? What the fuck? Why do I need to take it on? You know, you can help a person without sinking yourself. And that was the thing I needed to learn was do not tie yourself to someone who's got a cinder block around his ankle out in the lake. Figure out, you know, how to cut it without tying yourself to it and sinking down.
I agree with you, man. I'm very big now on, because I've went through the lessons of what you're talking about. Because one of the biggest things for me is the price of progress is pain.
Yes.
Right. For you to be able to do that, you got to go through it. Right. So one of the biggest things for me is, like, if you need help and let's say construction, I do roofing, siding, and insulation. I don't do, let's say you're a drywaller and you do some other shit. Instead of me giving you money, I'll help you find clients. You know what I mean?
It's called cross-pollination.
Exactly, man. That's that's how I'll do it.
That's what we do. We call it the trough. Everyone's responsible for feeding the trough. Everybody. So I can find anyone to do a job. But no, when I bring you in, what are you bringing to everybody else? Okay. And this is not from the lens of you got to feed us and take care of us. It's from the lens of everyone's contributing. Everyone's helping each other.
That's how you last.
So I got guys that do window replacements on, you know, buildings, commercial windows. They don't do balcony. They don't do concrete. So when they tell me, oh, Amir, like this building, I'm doing the windows, they needed a balcony guy. Well, good. I'm going to go to this guy. You're going to give it to him because what does this guy do? When he's doing balconies, he said, oh, yeah, they're doing a window replacement job. He comes back and goes, hey, here you go, buddy. Let's go. And that's what we all do. We all throw stuff into the middle. The network got bigger and bigger and bigger because everybody that bought into this all helps each other. And it's great. And there's no overguarding. It's if I get introduced to somebody that can help me, they're like, yeah, go have dinner. Go do your thing. Go build your relationship. But they know no one forgets where the relationship came back. It's in perpetuity. You could own, let's say, 200 buildings, and you introduce me to him. And I meet you and we hit it off and all of a sudden we're fucking best friends. And now you're the best man at my wedding and my kid's born. You become the godfather to my kid. It's still your relationship. Our friendship is one thing, but business is different. That's still your relationship. So it doesn't matter how tight you and I become. You don't forget where it came from. All right. That's the integrity. That's the character. That's the dynamic of what we have built as a group. Is nobody forgets where it came from.
I fucking love it, man. It's everything that he's saying is it's the same language I speak.
Yeah, man. And I've said it repeatedly. Like, you know, I don't know, 10 years ago, she's still like one of my best clients and like a close friend. She's a wonderful woman. She told me, you're too honest for this business. Like, you know, you gotta toughen up a little bit. I'm like, nah. If I can't do it this way, then I'll find something else to do. Yeah. I got fucked a few times, sure, but I love it. It's only growing more and more, and things are just aligning better and better. Why? Because the guys who, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. I met a guy who's been doing it 20 years. We sat down and went over all of his projects, everything he's got. And one of the burning questions in my head was, you've been doing this 20 years. Why the fuck do you want me? You've got relationships. You've got drywallers and window guys and roofers. And what do you want with me? And I couldn't. It was constantly on my mind. Like, why me? Why me? Not that I believed there was something wrong with me or I didn't deserve it, but it's relationships. And it finally, it's just, hey man, why me?
I got a question
for you. I'm fucking tired of assholes. I'm tired of assholes. I'm tired, you know, there's been a succession plan that's been a fail where the dad who built the business on hard work and character and all of that shit passed it to his son. His son's a fucking degenerate. He's doing fucking blow all the time, getting wasted. I can't get a hold of him. When I call the dad, I gave him the business. What do you want from me? So, you know, now there's new opportunity and it's, yeah, you know what? You're a good guy. I can see it in you. You're a good guy. So, okay.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you because I feel like it's just a cycle of life and it just continues with all these majority of them.
Yep.
So when they see something refreshing and they see something legit and honest and legitimate and
man.
Genuine.
Yep.
And then, of course, I got a question because we're running out of time. But when you were talking earlier and you were talking about you like to help people, is there any coaching that you do? Or is it just strictly you're a construction guy? If you meet people,
so
you just...
I wouldn't say there's coaching that I do. Like I'm now working with him here on possibly building out like a podcast and a path to telling my life story. All right, just going from your soul's rag to riches, being a lost, scared, young, abused little boy to a grown, successful man. He was a great father, a productive member of society that's, run with the bulls and done a whole bunch of shit in life, right? I want to tell the story.
I like the story. I'll tell you that. I love the story.
We've barely scratched
barely
the
scratched the
surface, man.
surface.
Like we haven't even touched like the healing, pure healing journey, the ayahuasca that I did in Peru.
Fuck me, because I hear about this stuff all the time. You got to do a part 2.
I would love to do.
You have to come back and do a part 2.
As far as where I want to go outside, like construction will always be a part of my life. I love the people I work with. We have a great time together, and that will always remain a part of what I do. But I want to get into telling my story, write a book on my life, and hopefully connect with people that are maybe lost and looking to get inspired. Like I was asked once, like at the end of the day, what does it all mean? Where do you want your life to go? When your day comes, what do you want to look back and say, that's it, man, I did it. So for me, it's a joke, but in the joke is truth. I want, when my time comes, to have a packed funeral home when I'm gone.
Fuck me, man. Everything you say is resonating the same way I was thinking about it.
I want it packed with people crying, and not because I owed them money. I want it packed because I made an impact. My name, Amir Kendic, left some sort of imprint in their soul and in their path to growing and becoming something different in their lives. How do I do it? I don't know. I'm trying through my own way to live by example that, comes with some sort of clout when I tell it, because, oh, fuck. Well, yeah, you are living a life. You are doing the right things. My business, KEK, stands for Kaya Elizabeth Kendic, my daughter. I want to leave something for her that matters. So when she's in that funeral home and she's looking around and there's a fucking lineup of people that want to come in and say their goodbyes, that is a life well lived.
We'll figure it out together, man, because that was one of the burning questions I had in the back of my mind, I swear to God.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And I have an interesting story, and I actually started the podcast at some point, and it was almost on the same path that you were talking about, right? And that's why I started the Monarchy Movement.
Yeah.
Because the whole story always begins with you, and it's going to end with you anyways.
Right? It is. And it's got to be a good one, man. It has to be.
You got to come back on, and we got to talk about you.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. I'd love to.
Don't give me that squint eye. You got to come back and have that conversation.
I definitely would love to.
You got to cut off that Final Fantasy and give me 2 hours of your time. Okay?
Of course. I'd love to, man. There's a lot to talk
honestly, you definitely got to come back for a round 2. I got to get you back on. For sure. I got to go and take care of the wife with the little kid right now.
Congratulations.
I appreciate
what a beautiful
Same
blessing.
name as him, eh?
Really? Musa?
Yeah, Musa.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
It was a crazy story. I was talking about spirituality and religion. Yeah. I'm very big into the religion. I actually find a lot of my pain coping mechanisms is because of my faith in the Lord,
Right.
But it was crazy. When my wife told me she was pregnant, I was going through that situation where I just got robbed $100,000, and last year I lost 500. You know what I mean? So I was teetering on bankruptcy at this point. 600 cold hard cash.
Yeah.
And I started making prayers for 2 things. Please give me enough money to feed my parents, because I'm like, if I'm on the streets, I'm fine.
Yeah.
My dad's 70 years old, right? No, I'm not gonna watch him work.
Yeah.
Right. Fuck that.
Yeah.
And 2, give me a son so my brother has a brother, and then give me a daughter if you want.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, I had a dream that who showed up in my dream was Musa, the prophet Moses. I was going to name my son originally Hamza.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So then Moses shows up in my dream. The interpretation of the dream is you're going to have a son and you're going to fall into some whatever situations where you're going to get back up on your feet. Both came true. Yeah. So when the gender reveal came, and then like, what do you think? It's a boy or a girl? I'm like, fuck that. I believe in the Lord. Yeah. It's a boy. And then as soon as it went blue, the story was true. You know what I mean? So,
wow.
Good for you, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Good for you. Honestly,
that's amazing.
This is an amazing thing when you get to bring new life into this world. There's no greater gift. There's no better honor than being a father.
I'm a very emotional father, by the way.
That's good. Man. It's
I'm a
important.
sap. When it comes to my
I'm
daughter,
like you, man.
dude, I hear Tim McGraw's kid about his little girl, and
I'm like,
she starts flooding. I'll be driving my car, I'm like, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
oh no, man. Listen, guys, we're gonna get you guys back on.
Yes, please.
All right, it was a pleasure having you guys here. If you guys like what you saw today, please like, share, and subscribe so we can always have good fellow kings like you guys here today.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Pleasure, brother.
Thank you so much.
Too, man.
Awesome.